Welcome to Weekly Pulse. I'm Lorenzo Reyes. I hope everyone enjoyed their turkey and football over Thanksgiving, and I'm sure between the shopping and the tryptophan, you're ready to relax over the holiday weekend and watch even more Pigskin. But before you do that, we have a great show for you this week. While the Buffalo Bills took center stage on Turkey Day, we caught up with one current player and one legend from the team to get their pulse on the franchise, Cole Beasley and Jim Kelly. Beasley opens up about his transition from America's team to America's heartland in Buffalo and the single biggest difference he noticed right away between the two franchises. As for Jim Kelly, he went one-on-one with our very own Paul Meyerberg to discuss his journey battling cancer and his thoughts on Josh Allen as a franchise quarterback for the Bills. He had very high praise. And speaking of highs, we caught up with former NBA forward Al Harrington to discuss his transition from the court to the cannabis industry and why he has his grandma to thank for that. You don't want to miss that story and more on this week's Weekly Pulse. Let's roll. I used to hate the Jets. Hate them. I didn't want anything to do with them. But after some midseason struggles, Sam Darnold is playing much cleaner football, the rushing defense has showed up, and Adam Gase's crew is dropping 34 points on everyone. Literally everyone. The Jets have scored 34 in each of their past 3 and have covered all of those. I think, with the Jets giving 3.5 points on the road against the Bengals, it's about to be 4. Even though Andy Dalton is starting again for Cincy, I don't think it matters. The Jets are my lock of the week, and I've got them winning 27-20. For my cover, I'm going with the Cardinals. They've become one of the best against the spread teams in the entire NFL and are actually tied for the best ATS record in the league. They have lost their last 4 games, but they've covered in 5 of their last 7. Really, it should have been 6 had that crazy lateral play not happened at the end of the Niners game that forced a push. But that's another story for another day. The Cardinals are at home against a Rams team that just got lamarred, just got smashed, basically ending their playoff hopes. Arizona is getting 3 points, and I actually think they take this game outright by 3 points, 20-17. Book it. And since I was perfect last week while avoiding over-unders, I'm going to do the same this week. But if you do want some of that action, hit the under on 46 in the Ravens-Niners game. I'm just thankful that I can pick the bets I like best. Get it? Anyway, as I was sitting there, I was looking for one of the lines to speak to me, and then I saw the Bucs getting 1 point on the road against a Jaguars team that has lost their last 3 games by an average of 21.7 points. Let's just say it was like when Dorothy opened the door and went from black and white to Technicolor. A revelation. Take Tampa. I've got them winning 25-19.
In Dallas, when you lose a game, it's almost like the whole world just like kind of tries to squish you with their foot. At least here it's just Buffalo that does it, you know. So I guess that's the biggest difference. I don't know. I haven't really watched much of them. I just kind of I talked to my teammates from there. I talked to Dak and Zeke, and then I talked to Gallup a little bit and a few guys from there. So. I kind of just talk to them, see how they're doing, and I really don't talk about like what's the team, how's the team feel, you know what I mean? So it's not really anything like that. But from what I have seen, they've been playing pretty good on offense. I already know they have a good defense, so I don't know. I think they'll play their best ball the second half of the season probably. I told somebody this earlier, but really I was just upset that I wasn't going to get a Thanksgiving again. You know, I was kind of looking forward to having a real Thanksgiving meal with my family for once in like 8 years now. So, but it didn't really work out that way for me. So that's really the first thing I thought about, honestly. It was a weird situation. I don't know. They didn't really even talk to me until after I already like agreed to go to Buffalo. So that was the kind of the weird part about it for me. It wasn't really anything until they found out. I don't think they really thought I was going to leave. I mean, I don't know though. But they didn't come. I didn't talk to Jerry or anybody until after the fact. So that's how that whole thing went down. Because I'm from there, Dallas guy. I lived there my whole life. And I don't know. I just thought, I mean, that's just what I'm assuming from how it kind of went down. But I don't really know. Maybe they just were like, all right, he's going somewhere else as well. But they sent me a contract after I agreed to go to Buffalo, so it was weird. Well, it was like where you couldn't sign yet, but we verbally agree. So it was like, I don't know. They're trying to get me to change my mind. Yeah, I've teamed up with Polaris Ranger to celebrate the best stories in Texas high school football, naturally, because I'm from Texas, so, and I've experienced it, so it was a good time for me. But also we partnered with Dave Campbell's Texas Football to identify 5 schools that are playing for more than wins and losses. Their stories have been captured in short videos, part of Polaris's Most Driven Team campaign, and really anyone can go watch these stories and vote for who they think is the most driven team at texasfootball.com. It's a pretty cool deal.
With Love Me is a program a patient awareness campaign designed to connect cancer patients, caregivers, basically with their former selves, right? By having them write letters to themselves when they were first diagnosed. So you wrote a letter to yourself. Yep. Is the message to yourself to don't feel helpless and don't lose hope?
To a certain point, I think more than anything was to remind myself that the struggles that you go through, a lot of people go through them, but what can I do to reverse this and make it a positive for other people, to give them hope to never ever give up. We all go through tough times in our life, every one of us, you, everybody here, and everybody out there. And the thing is, too many people give up on their dreams. Too many people give up that when they hear the word cancer, they think their life's over. And I always say, you know, associate yourself with good quality people that are willing to keep a positive outlook on life and keep that smile on their face and not a frown. Because I remember when I was in the hospital and they gave me less than a 10% chance of making it, how my family walked in, never once had a frown on their face. They walked in with an attitude that's going to make my day better by what they said, what they looked like, and just how they acted around me. And I just urge everybody out there, when you know somebody or a family member that is going through cancer, that just make their day by the things that you say and keep that positive outlook in their mind. Even though when you walk out of the room, you might walk out with that frown, you might walk out with those tears, never do it around them. They don't need to see that. They need that positive outlook that I'm going to do this, I'm going to beat this. But that's part of life, and you can be a difference maker.
Yeah, well, that's very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yep, my pleasure.
Should we talk a little football?
Yep.
I visited Josh Allen when he was at Wyoming, going into his final
Really?
year. Yeah, I did. Laramie, have you ever been to Laramie? You've been to Wyoming to hunt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elk.
Okay, so Laramie.
Many years ago.
Laramie in Wyoming is like Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
Well,
I
it's all relative.
Oh,
yeah.
I get it. I was just...
I went to see him there, and obviously you're always struck immediately by his size, arm strength, and his confidence. When I left there, I thought, okay, he thinks he can make every throw, and he probably can. But I left there wondering, is he ready, emotionally or mentally,
Yep.
because of the pressure and the expectations? How do you think, since he's got there to now, how do you think he's handled being a franchise quarterback and being a first-round pick and eventually basically being the face of the franchise? How do you think he's handled it?
I think he's handled really good. You know, last year you go through your struggles on really understanding the quickness of the game, how fast everybody is, especially coming from Wyoming. And not coming from an SEC team that's used to having 80, 90,000 people at a game and the chanting and all that stuff. I think he's handled it very well. We all will go through our struggles. Young kids will do that. There's always exceptions. I get that. But I think he's handled it very well. He's growing. He's getting better. He still has a lot of room for improvement. There's no doubt. I'm sure he'll be the first one to tell you that. Mm-hmm. But I'm proud of where he's at. But I think more than anything, I'm proud that he's taken the part of the leadership to his heart. The way he communicates with players, receivers, linemen on the sidelines, that's huge. In the past 5, 6, 7 years, I have not seen that. When a quarterback comes off the field, you've got to be able to talk to the receivers, let them know what you're thinking. Right. You've got to be able to keep your offensive line focused on what they're doing. And that communication between quarterback and players, offensive players, is so huge. Some people might not think that, you know, yeah, there's a little bit of that. No. Quarterback's got to be in tune to what everybody's doing. He's got to be the leader. When he needs to say something, they need to listen. Yeah. And I think the players have gotten that respect from Josh, and Josh has gotten that respect from them too. So I think it works both ways.
So a lot has changed in the NFL as a quarterback. I mean, PI calls are different now. I mean, how you defend the pass, how you protect quarterbacks, everything's a lot different. As you sit down on a Sunday and if you watch the Bills or you watch the Pats or whatever, what is the one rule that you see flagged over and over again, or one rule change that you think, man, wasn't like that when I was playing, that you actually actively dislike? Anything in particular?
Dislike?
Yeah.
Oh, dislike. That's a hard one because I know when you start to say that sentence, I thought, oh, quarterback being taken care of, which he should.
Right.
And because.
So you're a fan of that?
Oh,
obviously.
huge.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, you hear anybody complain about it. They have no NFL team. They don't have a team they grew up loving because you'll be the first one to say when your quarterback is drilled into the ground, you'll be screaming out, that's a penalty. But when you're not a fan of a special team, a particular team, then you might not say it. For me, I love it. I wish it was there when I played because, you know, I think I was telling the guys here before that I remember talking to Marty Lyons and you know, Klecko, two guys I've gotten to know pretty well over the last few years, well, 15 years. And when I played against them, their key was to hit the quarterback and drill him into the ground as hard as you can. And if he happens to get up, he's lucky. But if he doesn't give up, that's a plus for us. I mean, you never want to ruin anybody's career. Sure. But if you can knock him out for the rest of that game, then that's a big plus. Now you can't touch him, which is good because nobody wants to see backup quarterbacks. And it's interesting how today's football, more quarterbacks are getting hurt, and they're protecting them more. Back when I played, you know, we fought through injuries. We fought through things, and of course, the concussion protocol.
Sure.
I mean, when I played, it was how many fingers do I have up, who you're playing, and where are you playing at? And if you pass those three, you were good to go. You don't know how many times they've ran that one by me. Too many times to count. But
do they ever do the who's the president? They ever ask you who the president of the United States is?
No.
I feel like that's a cliche.
No, no.
What year? They asked what year it was?
No.
Okay, so it's you get your dazed, maybe smelling salt.
Yep.
So it's how many fingers?
How many fingers do I have
And then
up?
what's the next one?
Who you playing?
So
And where are you
opponent,
playing at?
Where are you playing? Okay, so you've got a 50-50 shot on the last one, obviously, but the first two is where they catch you.
What's your name? Let me see. Today it might be somebody different.
Right. Well, yeah. So that's a positive to have that changed.
Yep.
Look, we can't find 32 good quarterbacks. I mean, there's like 18 really good quarterbacks in the world. I feel like in the world, like
18.
I mean, on a
There
Saturday.
ain't no 18 good quarterbacks. There's probably
that
really
true?
good quarterbacks. Probably
Really good.
7 or 8.
Yeah, we're talking single digits, but serviceable maybe. I'm trying to be polite. What's
Who?
Serviceable, doable.
Yeah, there's probably 15, 20. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is.
So there certainly aren't 64. You know what I mean? Like you can't lose your starter. So I understand why you'd be, in addition to your own history as a quarterback, why you'd appreciate the role.
Well, you know, I appreciate because the backup quarterback's a guy that usually the fans like better than a starter a lot of times.
Until he gets on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly, pretty much.
Right.
Except in my case, I had Frank Reich, which was a master at the comeback. He was a master at his style of offense, and now he's the head coach of the Colts, which is pretty cool.
Do you watch that NFL on Sundays? Is that how you spend your Sunday afternoons?
Yeah, it's interesting because the older my kids get, the more they don't want to watch football with Daddy.
Why? Because you will.
Oh, I scream at the TV.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that I don't watch it like everybody else does. I watch it from a standpoint where quarterback comes to line of scrimmage, I'm looking at the defense. They in cover 2, they in cover 4, or they're blitzing. Who's going to be the hot guy? Who's going to be the hot read? And then when the ball snapped, as soon as I see the blitz, I automatically look out to the wide receiver, see he's running his sight adjustment. If it's cover 2, is he fading to the outside or is the receiver coming inside, which you shouldn't do? I look at all that stuff, and I am constantly talking, and it drives my family nuts.
Yeah.
Some of my buds love it because they learn when they're around me.
And you can do that from the TV angle. You're not the all 22 back. You'll tell from your TV broadcast booth angle, oh, look out for number 92.
And not only that is I run it back a lot.
Oh, do you?
Thank God I have, my father-in-law, come on, man, he doesn't have that yet. I'm like,
you got the.
Hello, it was 2019. I can
He
go
doesn't have
rewind
a TiVo rewind thing?
Yeah, I just throw out that flip phone and, no, I'm just kidding, Jared. But yeah, I love to rewind to see, make sure that what I saw really happened, and I do it a lot. And that drives them nuts sometimes.
So your kids won't watch football with you?
They
can
still
help it.
do to a certain point, but they take more breaks probably to go to another TV.
Right. So you'll have a 3-hour game that might take you 4 hours to watch because you're.
No, not that long.
Not
I
that
don't.
long.
Yeah, no, not that long.
Is there a young quarterback in the league that you've had a chance to watch that outside of Josh, obviously?
Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes.
I coached him in the Pro Bowl this past year, And it was him, Andrew Luck, and Deshaun Watson, 3 very, very talented quarterbacks. And Patrick, he threw everything was on a dime. I mean, boom, boom. It was unbelievable. That was on my side of the ball. And then, of course, the way Prescott's playing right now, he's playing he's playing on a team right now that pretty much has all the pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah.
And if he continues to play the way he is, it's going to be pretty wild at the end.
Great to talk to you.
Back at you. Thanks
so much.
Yep.
Al, you were one of the most successful guys on the basketball court, and now an incredible success in business with Viola Cannabis. Tell me about how you got started with that.
I grew up in Orange, New Jersey, war on drugs. I remember in 8th grade, 2 kids getting locked up in my class. So I was completely scared of cannabis, you know what I'm saying? Even when I got to the league, that's the first time that I realized I was being lied to, because I had teammates that were, some of the better players on my team that used cannabis all the time. So that's when I kind of softened up my stance on it, but I still didn't try it. But my grandmother came to see me play after my first season, or towards the end of the year. And when she got there, she started taking all this medication in my kitchen, and I just asked her, like, what are you taking so much medication for? And she started naming these couple different ailments, and one of them she said was glaucoma. So I was like, well, Grandma, I was just reading the newspaper like 2 days ago, like, all the benefits of cannabis for glaucoma patients. And, we talked for a while, and finally she asked me what was cannabis. And I was like, marijuana, weed. She was like, reefer? She was like, boy, I'm not smoking no reefer. She was like, all it does is make you hungry and this, that, and the third. So I was like, all right, Grandma. So the next day I came home, and she was sitting in my kitchen, and she was complaining about her eyes. And I said, well, why don't you just give cannabis a try? You know what I'm saying? I was like, it'll be our secret. And she's like, I'm in so much pain today, I'd try anything. So I called a friend of mine that lived in Colorado. I was like, can you go to the dispensary and get something for glaucoma? I don't know anything at this point. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. It's just stuff that I'm reading. And he brought back Vietnam, it's called Vietnam Kush. We vaporized it for her, had her try it. Took her downstairs, I went and took a nap. An hour and a half later, I woke up, and when I went to go check on her, the door was closed downstairs, so I knocked on the door, and I walked through the door. And I was just like, Grandma, how you feeling? And she turned around, and she was crying tears, and she's like, I'm healed. She's like, I haven't been able to read the words of my Bible in over 3 years. I hugged her, she made me cry too, so I'm sitting there crying all emotional before a game. And that's what pretty much started my quest of learning more and wanting more knowledge about the plant. And a year later, we started off, we launched our caregiver business. All of our patients either had HIV or cancer. And then we got our first official license in the state of Colorado in 2014, and we named it Viola, which is my grandmother's name.
Talk about that compassion you have to see other people feeling better and being happier in their lives.
I mean, it's everything, man. I think that, when you can put yourself in position to be an asset in people's lives, and especially take them from, issues of being in chronic pain. I'm not sure how many people or if you're in a situation where you're in chronic pain, but it's not fun. I've lived a life like that as well. You know what I'm saying? Being an athlete and being in pain all the time and taking anti-inflammatories and taking all this medication. And, the side effects obviously are deadly at the end of the day. And, it's really unfortunate that, sports leagues don't allow players to, have this as an alternative way to medicate themselves that would be safer. And you talk about quality of life and caring about the athlete, you know what I'm saying? You should want us to use products that are all natural compared to something that's made in a lab and highly addictive. And, we've been lied to for a very long time about this cannabis plant. You know what I'm saying? This cannabis plant was made illegal in 1930, and at the end of the day, it was really made illegal to, arrest, Black and Latino men for an industry that's $1 trillion industry, and there's no, minority representation. You know what I mean? Black people own less than 4% of this industry, and we were the ones that was policed, you know what I'm saying, and locked up behind it. Me and my company, we have a lot of responsibility in this space, and we're trying to, provide people with a better life, through this plant, and we're trying to provide opportunity, for our people, through this industry as well.
You talk to football players the day after, game day, and they feel like they've been in a car crash. What can cannabis do for them, and what have you seen it do for all athletes, but in particular football players, which are so, they're so physical?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to those guys, and I really feel bad for them. I think if any sport league needed, they need it first. Obviously, with the head trauma issues and the CTE and stuff like that, CBD also is a deterrent for some of those ailments as well. So we just need the NFL and all leagues to just wake up, you know what I mean? And let's do the proper testing and allow the athletes to be able to use a plant that is obviously very medicinal.
I read somewhere where you said within the next 2 years it will be legal in at least one of the sports?
I think the NFL probably has a leg up, but I think that the NHL is definitely looking at it aggressively, and I know the NBA is as well. But I firmly believe that within the next 2 years, like, something will happen that one of these leagues will be the first.
Al, you were one of the most successful guys to go straight from high school to the pros. Talk about handling the transition to the pros from high school and how difficult and what challenges you faced there.
The most difficult challenge was, not being the best player anymore. You know what I'm saying? When you go from high school where, like, you're almost like a god, you know what I'm saying, where, nobody can guard you, no matter what gym you walk in, you're the man. So you get in the NBA, like, now you're kind of like nobody, you know what I'm saying? You have to work your way up the ranks. Having great veterans around really allowed me to, lay the foundation for me to be able to play 16 years, because they showed me what it took. The guy Reggie Miller taught me, you got to be the first one in practice, last one to leave. He was not only a Hall of Famer, but he was, the best player on our team. He was the highest paid player on our team. And he was one of those guys that lived by those rules.
Well, was it a fun experience?
Yeah, of course it was fun. Like I said, it was new, man. It was like literally like these are the guys I used to just look at on TV, those guys being role models, to next thing you know, I'm in the locker room dealing with them on a day-to-day basis. It was, definitely an experience.
Your career overlapped with LeBron for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
How would you compare LeBron those 6 years to the player he is right now?
I think the biggest change in his game from back then to now is the way he shoots the ball. But everything else, athleticism, court vision, the ability to score, get to the free throw line. I mean, he's been doing that since he came in, you know what I'm saying? So he's just been sharpening his tools, for the last 16, 17 years.
How would you rank, let's say, the top 5 teams in the league right now?
I guess you got to go Lakers probably. I think the Clippers are going to be really, really good. I think the way they're going about the season is kind of cool. They're going to build up steam towards the end. So I think that's why, like, Kawhi rest now, this, that, and the third, and then come after All-Star break, those last 25 games. And from the East, I like the Celtics, I like Milwaukee, I like Philly. I think Philly has the most talent. They should represent the Eastern Conference.
What's your thought about playing in New York, playing for Jim Dolan?
I think the biggest thing with New York is just 2 things. I think that one is just the city, the organization just doesn't have an identity. I don't know if you're high scoring, if you're going to be defensive, it's going to be like you're going to build around this guy, that guy. It's just all over the place. Also, like with these kids now, man, I just think they relate to younger people. You know what I'm saying? And, I know the general manager, Steve Mills and all those guys, and I love them, you know what I'm saying? But I think that they need someone else with them younger to represent them to when they're talking to these kids. If I was in charge of the organization, I would hire a guy like Chauncey Billups. You know what I'm saying? I would bring a Chauncey Billups into the city, let him get acclimated. Because, at the end of the day, like, people have to understand, like, how special it is to be in this city. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think has been lost here.
Thanksgiving weekend may be the best weekend of football all year. It's rivalry week in college football, and there are 2 games that you just can't miss. You have the Iron Bowl between Bama and Auburn, a game that always sizzles. And then you have the game between Michigan and Ohio State. After this Saturday, we will have a pretty good sense of who's in and who's out of the playoff heading into championship weekend. And on Sunday, the NFL is stuffed, get it, with huge games. Raiders versus Chiefs, Niners versus Ravens, Watson versus Brady. Not to mention the Steelers and Browns meet again after, well, you know what. While we'll all be griping over getting back to work on Monday, at least we'll have one of the best matchups of the year to end our day. Vikings, Seahawks. Both look like legit playoff teams, which will make for a legit game. Stick with Weekly Pulse, your heartbeat to what's trending in sports. Hey sports fans, if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of our other ones right here. And if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and stick around for more from USA Today Sports.